Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of More Sewing with Michele. This week, I am going to share my personal trifecta of cutting for fabric. These are items that I use all the time. You have seen me use them. Some of you have questioned what type of cutting system am I using, and I am going to give you all the information today because I've got lots of different products that I could use, but these items, the Quilter Select Trifecta, are the ones that I use every day. I love them, and I'm going to share why I think they're the best out there. So let's get started on this week's Trifecta of Fabric Cutting on More Sewing with Michele. So I want to chat just a little bit about Quilter Select, where it came from, what are the information that I like to share. And many years ago, a quilter, Alex Anderson, stumbled upon some Floriani products, and she used them. She really fell in love with them. So she went to the company, which is R&K Distributing. She talked to them and explained that, she's a quilter, that she loves these products, and then they co-created Quilter Select together. Now, Alex came to the table with years of experience, and she basically is kind of like quilting royalty here for us. And with that, she brought to the table, she had started a TV show with Ricky Timms called Quilting Show. She also started a magazine, and she was the co-founder of that called A Quilt Life. She is an author, and she's published over 30 books on quilting, and she's been named one of the most influential people in quilting. So like I said, how's that for a resume? She's definitely royalty here for quilting. Now, she lives in Northern California, and Alex Anderson got a degree from San Francisco, State University. So with that, they created this line Quilter Select, and Alex brought with her all those years of experience, all the things that she wanted to tweak or maybe change about tools and products she brought to the table. And once again, with R&K, they created the line. So can you imagine? I know that over the years, some of the items I've used, every once in a while I go, oh, I wish it would do this. Well, Alex brought that and she changed things. So I'm going to talk about the trifecta of fabric cutting. And those three things are the rulers. And it's really important that I use specific rulers for specific things. Now, I've got a ton of rulers, but these ones absolutely are my go-to. Now, the mat, the cutting mat. Cutting mats, there's a lot out there, but these are amazing. Can't wait to show you why they're amazing and what they will do for you. And then we also have the rotary cutter. Now, I've got two of you for you today. I've got the 60 millimeter and also the 45. And I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of both. Really, there's no cons, but depending upon what you do is what you're going to use as far as cutting. Now, these three items are my trifecta, and I can't wait to show you. So let's get going on the details of my trifecta of fabric cutting. So let me show you my trifecta in action. So I've got the cutting mat on the table. I've got one of my favorite size rulers. This is the 6 by 12. The mat that we have here is 12 by 18. So I love it because it will definitely use the full 12 inches one side, and then you have the flexibility for the other side. And then we have, of course, our rotary cutters. Now, let me talk a little bit about the rotary cutter and the weight of it. So these are, oh my gosh, they're amazing. These are the rotary cutters by Quilter Select. This is the 60 millimeter. This is the 45. Now, in my world, you kind of need both. They do different things. Yes, they both cut fabric. but for different things, meaning the 60 millimeter is really good for cutting 6 to 8 layers of fabric, this one here. And also, if you're cutting through, if you're squaring up a quilt or anything with super thick fabrics, this one's great for that. Now the 45 will cut about 4 layers of fabric, and it's really quite amazing. Now let me show you some of the other things that this will do for you. Now this is my baby. As you can see, I've got my name marked on it right there. So I've had it for many, many years. Now one of the things you will first notice when you get yours is it's got a little bit of weight to it. Now the weight is there to help you when you cut. It's about 8 ounces. Now that weight is actually there to help when you cut. It helps to penetrate the fabric to make for an easy glide when you're cutting. Now these are ambidextrous. You can use them left or right-handed cuts. And the way that you expose the blade is you're going to push this button right here, and then you're going to slide down and push on the mat, and you can see now the blade has been exposed just ever so slightly there. Now to close it, you're going to simply turn it over and tap, and just like that, the blade's closed. Now you know I like things with caps and things to secure it. One of the things with your rotary cutter you need to always be careful of is that you close it so that there's no accidents. No one comes along, picks up the blade, not by the handle, but by the blade, and cuts themselves. Now, even with all of those precautions, I tell you, I think I've cut myself probably 3 or 4 times with a rotary cutter. And most of the time I was being careless, not paying attention, so to speak. But I love that it's super easy. Push down, close. Easy as that. Now, one of the things that we always had to do, and let me tell you, I've had lots of rotary cutters over the years. Changing the blade can be problematic on other ones, not the Quilter Select. So you'll notice right here, we have the system, and I'm going to simply remove this, pull down, and you can see, look at this. The blade is magnetized to this bit here. And that allows you to not have to worry about pulling it off and possibly cutting yourself. Now, if I go real close here, you'll notice on this side right there, it's got a not round area. And that allows you, for when you're changing your blade, you're going to put it back in. It aligns with that one section. You turn it over and you simply push this area up. And just like that, your blade's changed. How cool is that? So no longer do you have to worry about all those bits and pieces. Now, other rotary cutters that I've had, and like I said, I've had a few, needless to say, sometimes there's a washer, sometimes it's hard to get it back in place, but this one, like I said, simply pull this back, it will drop down, and then you change your blade, and then line it up again, and just like that, you have your blade changed. Love that. And that's one of the things Alex, came up with R&K. So those are the basics for it. Like I said, to use it, you're going to push your button here, slide the blade. To close it, you simply tap down the other way. Love that. Now, both of these work exactly the same way. They both have the same buttons, and they both have the same components on the back. So you will change your blades and expose them the same exact way for both of these rotary cutters. Love that about it. That's the mechanical parts. Now let me show you how to actually use them. Now, if you're cutting fabric, let me get some fabric here. The weight of the cutter actually helps you expose the blade. Now the weight of the cutter, you're simply going to glide it along. And as you can see, precision cut. Now, I love that about it. And because of that weight, that 8 ounces, it allows the blade to kind of sink into the mat and cut very nicely. And it does a great job of it. But also, one of the other things, as far as ergonomics, if you've ever had problems with your thumb, and I do, believe you me, when I'm cutting a bunch of stuff to get ready for an event, or if I'm cutting a bunch of little pieces or lots of pieces for a quilt, oftentimes when I use my rotary cutter, I get a a tendonitis problem here in my thumb. But with this handy dandy rotary cutter by Quilter Select, I don't have that problem like I used to do. So what I like to do is do my layers, and as you can see when you cut on this, your hand is going across. Now you should always pretty much so cut away from you. Cutting towards you could be dangerous, and it also can allow the rotary cutter to wiggle a little bit when you pull back. But when you extend your arm, you have that nice easy glide. So it's always best if you cut going away from your body. And with that said, with this rotary cutter system, you hold it and it just goes straight across and it glides across. Now with other rotary cutting systems, and like I said, I've got probably, I want to say at least 8 to 10 different types of rotary cutters downstairs. Some of them, when you expose the blade, it only exposes the tip here, which means you have to raise your elbow and your shoulder a little bit to get that cutting angle. And look what that does. It creates stress on my wrist and also my thumb. So using this rotary cutter by Quilter Select, I don't have that angle. I can just go straight across. So once again, straight across, and there you go. Now another thing that I want to talk about briefly is your cutting mat itself. Depending upon if I'm lining something up, I will use the lines on the actual mat. But more often than not, what I like to do is I like to turn my things sideways. I use my rulers to define where I'm going to cut, and then I cut across the lines in the mat. Now let me tell you why I do that. I do that because if you go by the marks on the ruler for your cutting lines, eventually you're going to chip away at those lines and you're going to lose the lines. And how many of you out there have a cutting mat where it's got like a valley where you've chipped away at the material for your mat, or you can't see the numbers anymore? So use my tip here. I literally will cut at an angle, and that works out best for me. So that's one thing that I do. And then another thing that I do is, I don't know if you've noticed, let me take this fabric. I'm going to put this down on the mat here. And we're going to pretend that I am actually going to square up this block. I've got this piece of fabric here, and I am going to pretend that I'm squaring up a quilt block. So I've exposed the blade. I'm going to go ahead and cut away from me. Notice what I do. I simply turn. Bop. Do my cut. Turn. Bop. And one more time, we got a bop. Now, isn't that awesome? So basically, it's kind of like having a rotary cutter on a turntable, a Lazy Susan here, with this cutting system, and only this cutting system. So the magic that is on the rulers, remember I told you what tints them, that yellow color, it actually grips the fabric, and then in combination with these wonderful mats, it will actually hold that fabric so you can turn it wherever you want to turn it to cut. That is absolutely amazing, and hands down, it's probably my favorite thing about the Trifecta cutting system. Not only am I using all 3 products at the same time, but I, for years, had used different cutting systems, and every time if you have, let me pull another piece of fabric here, and I'm going to show you one more thing real quick. I'm going to turn this mat over. Remember I said that it's reversible? So now we have the purple fabric on top of the mat that has the light gray color. So if I'm cutting here, line it up, and once again, cut away from my body to turn it, and then you would have to replace, get it lined up to cut again. And that's what I did for years with my other mats. But with this one, you literally can line it up, cut, pivot, and cut. It is the best. And I tell you, it will save you time, energy, as well as fatigue on your fingers and your wrists for cutting. Love that about this system, my Trifecta cutting system. And let's see, what else can I show you? So the rulers that I have here today, we have the 6 by 12, and then we also have the 8 by 8. And both of them are perfect. I love squares. And the reason why I love my squares, not only are most quilt blocks are square in size, but I love the squares for squaring up my quilts on the corners. That way you get a precise corner on your quilts. So I love this about them. Now I'm having only a few of the sizes that we have for our Quilter Select on Moore's Sewing with Michele landing page. But there's a lot of quilts out there that they make quilting rulers from Quilter Select. And that's also the same with our cutting mat here. We are going to have on the Moore's Sewing with Michele landing page the 12 by 18 mat. But like I said, there's bigger size mats. This mat here, the 12 by 18, I think is perfect for your tabletop. Also, if you're going to be traveling and cutting, it also fits in nice little areas. So next to your sewing machine on your table or your cabinet, wherever you sew, it is a good size to move around and have wherever you need it. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is the mats themselves. They are thicker than most of the mats out there. And they are kind of flexible. But how many of you would deliberately, bend your mat? I tell you, no, you don't do that with any other mats out there. And there's a ton of them out there also. But bending it will also distort the fibers that are made for the mats. And these mats, the Quilter Select, you can literally hold them in one position. I'm just going to talk for a while. And they will go back to the original size. Now, you can't do that with other mats out there. I guarantee you, mats somehow are so easily warped. So I'm going to put this down and you'll see that it is just like magic going back to shape. Now, one of the things with mats is you always have to be careful about heat and them getting distorted. This one is already perfectly flat again. Now, sometimes I did have one of my Quilters Select mats that I had stored. And on the side of it, it had something that indented it. And all that I did was added a little heat from my iron and it went perfectly flat again. So not a problem. But that you cannot do with other mats out there. I tell you, I've got a bunch of mats downstairs too. But having them get warped or misshapen, sometimes it's better just to get rid of them and get a nice fresh one. And these Quilter Select are the answer. They're thick, they're double-sided, so it's like two mats in one. And I tell you, the numbering from left to right to left, from north to south to east to west, all the different directions you can measure and get your precise cutting done. And that alone with the flexibility of when you're cutting and the ease with these rotary cutters, it's a breeze. And that's my trifecta of rotary cutters, cutting mats, and rulers. So I know you're going to want to pick up my trifecta of fabric cutting. And we have the 12 by 18 reversible mat that we have from Quilter Select. And keep in mind, it's very durable, it's thick, and it is self-healing. So it's one of those amazing mats that we need for rotary cutting. And then we have the rulers. And I've got two of the Quilter Select rulers here today. We have the 6 by 12 and also the 8 by 8. And these are coated with that sheen that allows you to see them when they're on the mat because they have a tint of yellow. And that coating actually makes it grip the fabric so you can rotate and cut with ease. We've got the two of them. And don't forget, north, south, east, west, whatever way you want to measure is on these mats and the rulers. And then we have the two rotary cutters. Oh, these actually are like the diamond in the trifecta. And it's funny, I'll be completely honest. The first time I picked up one of these, I went, oh, I don't know if I need another rotary cutter. Let me tell you, I am so glad that I have mine. They are hands down my favorite. Use them constantly. and they're worth their weight in gold as far as I'm concerned. So we have the two sizes, the 60 millimeter as well as the 405. And like I said, both of them kind of have a really good spot in my quilting room. 45 millimeter is good for up to 4 layers of fabric. The 60 is good up to 8 layers of fabric. Also for heavier, thicker fabrics, and perfect for squaring up your quilt, going through the multiple layers, the batting, the topping and the backing, etc. It just cuts through it with a breeze. Keep in mind, ambidextrous. You can use them with either hand, and like I said, they're just wonderful. The fact when you change the blade, you have control of the blade, and you're not going to lose any bits and pieces when you need to put a new blade in. Keep in mind, we also have the refills for the 60 as well as the 45 here. Now you're going to go to moors-sew.com to pick these up, or you can always click on the link in the description where you can get my trifecta of fabric cutting here today on More Sewing with Michele. So there you have it, my trifecta of fabric cutting. And it literally is what I use day in and day out for cutting any sort of fabric. So if it has to do with embroidery, if I'm making a project, or if I'm making another quilt, these are the 3 items that I use every single day. I love them. Thank you so much, Alex Anderson, for all your years of experience, and also R&K for creating this wonderful line of products that makes it easier, faster, simpler, and also less stressful for any time that we cut fabrics. I really appreciate it, and I use them, like I said, all the time. Don't forget to go to moors-sew.com or click on the link in the description where you can pick up any and all of the trifecta fabric cutting system that I have for you today. I hope you have a fabulous week. Enjoy your sewing machines and get some quality sewing in. And until next week, I hope you have a fabulous time. And I'm going to get back to cutting some fabric.